the stories seem to present themselves of hacked games and such, some more believable than others. Some leave you questioning who would go out of their way to edit their own version of a game just to spook a few unfortunate victims who happen to come to possess one. I've never made an attempt to acquire one myself. However, what I am about to tell you all is the story of how one game managed to find its way into my hand. I had decided to purchase one of the original blue/red/yellow cartridges to play purely for the nostalgia side of pleasure. So I made my way to the city and found myself at the closest game shop I could find, Toy World. Toy World outlets aren't dedicated to selling game merchandises, but I did recall seeing them selling in past. After a good browse of the shop, I found nothing, leaving with nothing in my hand but some minor information which I required from one of the shop clerks, who informed me that I would have better luck finding older games at game traders. I made my way there, obvious patience in my stride. I was feeling confident that I would find what I so desired with every step. I arrived at Game Traders, a very small shop in comparison to Toy World, for that I found myself. Feeling grateful, I felt excitement kick in when I spotted a Pokemon cartridge case, only to find it was a copy of Silver, and no other Pokemon related Game Boy Color cartridges in sight. My search spanned over most of the day, being informed one way only to be sent to another. Patience wore thin, till I decided to head home with no spoils of hard searching. I arrived home disappointed after all the effort, so I gave in to online purchasing. I lucked out to finding a copy of Yellow being sold 3 blocks away from my home. I got a hold of the owner, who was a girl who sounded no older than myself, 17, maybe 18. I practically ran out of my door, hopped on my push bike, and made haste to the address. When I arrived, I knocked on the door, to be answered by a relatively attractive girl, whose only flaws seemed to be her unkempt appearance, bad hair, with clothes that crossed the borderline of being considered home comfort in the homeless rags. But it did not matter. I gave her the money. She gave me the game. Something felt eerie about how silent she was, vocally and physically. As I walked away after giving thanks, she mumbled out, "You won't save him." I paused, confused at her implication, then left with another praise of thanks. I arrived home, still curious of what she meant by "you won't save him." It made me feel uneasy, but nonetheless, I immediately started up Yellow on my trusty Game Boy Advance SP. That's when things got interesting. Normal titles appeared in a very nostalgic order, but it did not have the intro. The intro did not play. It went straight to the arms, extended face hidden in shadow, facial features unable to make out. I instantly found disappointment. A hacked game, presumably one made to creep a victim out. But I gained no other copy of the game. I paid for this, and I'm still curious in the version that laid out. Hitting the start button, no other copy of the game. I paid for this, and I was curious as to how this version was laid out. Hitting start, the basic title came up. Accept to continue was the only available option of gameplay. Naturally, I hit continue. The game faded into the lead character in the bedroom, where the trainer was seated, staring at amongst paintings on the map on the wall. I decided to check out the playthrough spoils of the game, so I brought up the start menu and noticed the name Dane, a nice name, I admit, not clinched a name such as red or yellow in this case. Moving on, I checked my trainer card, starting trainer cash, 0 badges. Everything seemed at norm, except the portrait of the character of the trainer, as mentioned earlier on the black hair boy, a very defined Japanese hairstyle swept over to a side, all spiky and awesome. I found my way. I found it to be in my favor. He was expressionless, no smile, a bare featured face, dark eyes, and stared at the left of you. Curious to his story, I found myself wanting to play through the hack, wanting to explore and explored based in the childhood game. I proceeded to check my Pokemon team naturally, finding a level 5 Pikachu named Laddie. I found that interesting, but she was a standard level 5 Pikachu. After I was downstairs, I spotted my mother, who had a different hairstyle than the preset version, but seemed all the same. My dialogue, etc., etc. I left the house, which was as a normal NPC house, no rival signed out the front door. But after speaking with my mother, it seemed Dane was a friend to the girl who lived here, named Delia. I went upstairs, walked over, and started a conversation with Delia. She seemed to be glad to see Dane, ranting on about how cute Laddie was. She was then prompted to question me a question. Do you think I should get a Pokemon too? Becoming traveling partners, wouldn't that be fun? I chose yes. Then shortly after her imitated ecstatic reaction, snap! This power turned off on the Game Boy. Frustrated and confused hit me at the same time, but I was stubbornly turned the game back on and jumped directly into the menu screen with the title, and Dane standing with Delia showed a small smile on his face, which in turn made me smile. It seemed that I lucked out with a hack game with alluring progressive character storyline. I knew this game had me. I was hooked. I spent hours over the next few days traveling and collecting badges at the while with Delia as company. The storyline was laid out exactly as the same as the default storyline. However, fame of Dane's battling efforts seemed to grow. Every NPC seemed to recognize him. I love that Dane would occasionally speak, to a rare feat in Pokemon games, almost a childhood dream in fact. He progressively got happier as I pushed him through the game. The occasional change of face on his trainer card and his relationship with Delia seemed to grow more in depth after every gym. I made Daddy strong. She was my all rights, my main, and she was ahead of the rest of my party, which only featured the attainable free Charmander, Bulbasaur, Squirtle through the game. I continued on pushing through until I arrived at Victory Road, where Delia asked to meet up with her later, as she wished to visit um I continued on to Victory Road as I arrived at Victory Road, where Delia asked to meet up with her later, as she wished to visit a friend for Viridian. I decided to see what would happen if I said no, so I said no. She seemed down at the reply and asked if I wished to go with her, so I did. I wanted to get more in depth with Delia's storyline, and as well as Dane's, so we arrived at the house of basic NPCs, which made no special dialogue with me. So I left, and I decided to give the Viridian gym a look around, seeing as if it was the final gym that I had to conquer, notably the one I had forgot to challenge in my haste to Elite Four. That's when I was prompted by the caretaker of the gym. Do you wish to hold a strong position in Viridian, possibly as Viridian's gym leader? Viridian lost its previous gym leader several years ago. He passed on, may he rest in peace. But nonetheless, we require a new gym leader. You have grown renowned. Dane would of your strength has in peace, but nonetheless we require a new gym leader. We have reached nearly all Kanto. It is only natural that the title of the Viridian gym leader would be given to someone of your attire. I said yes. Good God, I said yes. I had never felt so excited as I did in that moment. I had always wondered what would be a gym leader would be like in one of these games. Ignoring all remarks I've heard over the years, all you could do is stand by aimlessly, waiting for your odd trainer to challenge you, then without warning snap off fire once more. Seemingly less surprised that time um happened. I turned on the console and redirected to the menu. There stood Dane, a completely new attire, our dark gray outfit, suited in the gym of the ground. Of course, I liked the look of it. Dane was also surrounded by a new party: Rhydon, Graveler, Kingston, and a very fitting party. However, Lady remained there. My Dane's legs, but she looked sullen, sad, perhaps sad to change. By then it dawned on me that Delia was missing from the image. In fact, Dane's expression showed a weak smile, something that must have happened between the two. And when I accepted the gym role as the gym leader, I hastily continued and faded into um into the gym, Dane standing in all his glory. However, I had no control over him. Then I raised. This was cinematic. It faded in countless battles, seeming desperately 8-bit, playing in the meanwhile. Eventually, it faded to black screen altogether, and said 1 year later appeared on the screen.